So Cuomo, we're talking about Fredo pasta. Fredo, our fellow Italian. Why am I bringing up our fellow Italian? What do you think?
I have no clue. I have no clue.
Okay.
What did he do now?
Well, I hope you're sitting down for this one, Pasta, as are all of you. If you're driving to work, if you're on a commute, don't be shocked. Don't make a scene. Don't flip your car. Don't roast the potatoes. But Chris Cuomo, Fredo, talks about both parties taking money from big donors. I remember this. Yeah. I never knew this. All right. No. This isn't at the DNC. He was on Patrick Bateman's show.
Patrick David.
Patrick. I said Patrick Bateman.
It's okay.
From American Psycho. Why would I Pat, sorry I confused you for the other Pat. Wrong guy. Patrick David, not Patrick Bateman. Two different people altogether. One's real, one's fake and psychotic. So there you go. But Cuomo talks about it. And he says, he's rather shocked. So this is for us who've been in the business for a long time, talk about money and politics. I hope all of you people are sitting down because this is earth-shattering stuff right here where Cuomo is just talking about this. So let's go ahead and pull up this video here. Let's play it.
This duopoly, these two parties are literally wringing the life out of our democracy. You cannot be about anything more than the money and the positioning of power. You will lose. And they justify it on both sides the same way. Yes. We should change it. This is wrong, Patrick. I'm sorry I got to squeeze you for this money. But I can't do it now. I have to win. And then we'll figure it out. That's why every election is the most important election in our lifetime.
Could you understand why the average American is concerned about Secretary Clinton's track record? She's gotten a lot of big donations from banks.
No, I get big donations from banks. I don't believe that people on the left should engage in unilateral disarmament. Is it really your goal to have us all lose? Because I wish they weren't giving thanks. But here's my concern with that viewpoint. Judged by the results, what impact have those donations have that people can point to? But yeah, not only did I take a lot of donations from financial institutions, I was chairman of the committee while I was passing the Volcker Rule and Consumer Bureau, but I try to get them to give to other Democrats. I think do you think it would really be better for liberals, regulators, if all the money from the banks went to Republicans as opposed to just 80%? Because we could accomplish that. We could refuse to accept any. And I again have to tell you, I've accepted money from financial institutions. Some of them gave me once, didn't give me again. Obama, by the way, in 2008, no Democrat ever got as much as he did for the financial institutions. They gave him once, then they stopped giving.
That was a little snippet from way back in the day with TYT right there that was also played. But this is the big shock that the corporations are running the whole show. And I'm wondering, again, what's the overall goal and message here? Possibly your thoughts, my friend.
That they're trying to normalize the fact that it's just better to cheat better than your opponent, right? That doesn't make a difference. Well, Barney Frank wants to forget the fact that if you take money from somebody, they're going to give you money because they expect something in return. You know, he's trying to normalize it and say, well, listen, this is war. All is fair in hell and war. And we have to do what the Republicans are to do that, right? And it really is what Cuomo talked about. Yeah, we got to change that. We got to win first. So we got to do what's necessary to win. But the only problem is that you never stop doing, you never stop the actions that you tend to start with, right? So you start taking money from the banks, you'll continue to take money from the banks. You start taking money from the war industry, you continue to take money from the war industry. It is nice seeing Cuomo talk about all these things over here. You know, it's obvious that he's set free from the shackles of CNN and mainstream media, but I don't buy it completely. It's one of those things to kind of win you over, and I think he'll digress right back into his old part. He still hasn't really apologized for his actions on COVID. When he had that bait with Dave Smith, he still tried to hide, you know, and kind of tuck tail and run. So I'm very cautious when he says things, but what he's saying right here is 100% true.
Yeah, and look, just so y'all know, I mean, this is like the second time he has brought this up, because the first time, folks, was I think the most prolific at the DNC convention. So, like, you know, again, this was played, and the amount of security, the amount of money that was put in there. Pasta, let me ask you a hypothetical question. If you were able to have access, just you, if you were able to have access inside the DNC convention, do you think you'd be able to get any kind of interviews with any of these people, or with the amount of security and the way this was all being set up? Because even Jimmy, watching that one of his live streams, was like, this is absolutely insane. Like there was nothing but corporate neoliberal sellouts that were careful 24/7 about even if they were going to show up on any kind of video platform. I just want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, I think this is like a crafty situation. Like, you have to be really good at this. Max Blumenthal with Wyatt Reed, they did some great work walking through the halls. But, once again, they're like, Max is like an encyclopedia. He sees somebody, he understands what that guy has done, where he's taken money, or that woman, I should say, that man or woman, what they've done, where they've taken money, who they've aligned themselves with, what bills they've signed, what positions they've taken. So you got to be really crafty or good at that, or have good notes, right? So it's really hard to do those things, but that was what was needed to be done. And I think he did a great job at that. We were very fortunate when we sat down. We went into Lou Molinati's. Right next to me, the Health and Human Services Secretary was sitting there. Now, a lot of people wouldn't recognize the Health and Human Service Secretary, but I did, because I did a lot of work on COVID. I spoke a lot of stuff on COVID and talked about it. You wouldn't see a lot of those videos because we couldn't put them on YouTube, and there was no Rumble at the time. So me and Fiorella and Johnny Tsunami put them on Rockfin, and there's a whole slew of them. So I knew exactly what was going on, but that's a hard task to ask anybody. And that's why independent media has to work so much harder and have to be so much more sharper than the mainstream media, because they don't have those set scenarios. They have to take advantage of what they have when they have it. I'll never forgive myself for not being ready for Debbie Wasserman Schultz when I had her in my sights. And I kind of I toned it back and said, well, maybe I can get a conversation with her later. Maybe I can ask a nice question. They didn't want us to get in there. We went around the other side. We kind of snuck in to this development, but you got to be ready for these situations. There are things you could do. You just have to have the chops for them. And, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who have the chops of a Max Blumenthal, where you have that encyclopedia brain and you can ask those questions. So it is really, really tough, but there is work to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should understand who's going to be there on those days and be ready for those things. It's tough, but it can be done.
Exactly. So let's just go ahead and just pull this up here, because, again, this was pure gold.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Next
I had to pause there. Hey, they're not broke.
Star is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes, because that's the game.
That is the game. It is the game. We talked about this in a previous segment, but money in politics. Okay, Cuomo, let's see how far you take it. Well, welcome to something we've been discussing for the past 7 years and more, okay? Because I know Nico House has been in the game longer, so has Jimmy Dore. They've been talking about 12 years, 15 years longer than we have. So, folks, I mean, it is fascinating to see someone from the outlet of CNN, or is it because I remember when Cuomo used to be part of ABC as well. You have all these people talking about money in politics now. You got all these great pundits from these media outlets now coming into our turf and talk about stories that we have talked about for years and got censored for it. I mean, does it add anything to the conversation, or should we just, I don't know, call them out for their hypocrisy even more so? I mean, how sincere are they? I mean, when because soon they'll revert right back as soon as they get that nice big old checkbook.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, that is golden what he said, right? There's a couple smart people out there in independent media that shared that tweet, and I was kind of thinking like, man, should we put that? This is Chris Cuomo, he's just gonna kind of. But listen, at the end of the day, he's kind of pointed out what's the reality of politics nowadays. The politicians are going to give you, the people, lip service. Both parties. He mentioned they're going to go after power, right? A lot of people would argue right now that the Democratic Party is the party of the elites. They're more tied into the oligarchy, big tech, big pharma, the military-industrial complex, but they all are, right? And at the end of the day, both sides, are going to capitulate back to the big donors who tell them what to do, because money does buy a lot of things. Money does buy influence. It does buy the things I got censored for, which I can't say out loud because we are on YouTube, right? So I mean, there is a reality that he is talking about, and it's not just about getting money out of politics. It's what that money can buy. We can't stop it from buying influence. They're going to control the media and stuff, but censorship is the big deal, right? If things weren't censored as much, then we could fight back against the money issue. If certain entities of our government weren't for sale, right, then we can fight back against the finances that are out there. It's not just the money itself, it's the rules and what money can buy. We'll never be able to stop money from buying influence, but if it's a fair game and censorship doesn't exist, and we have a free speech platform and apparatus that's going to reach the masses in the public square, we would be able to fight back against a lot of that money. But unfortunately, like I said, it's not just the money, it's what the money can buy.
Agreed.